Let me begin my sermon this morning by showering accolades upon your hymnal. It is simply splendid, and I am especially impressed by the large selection of wonderful readings found in the back section. My message this morning, which I've titled "The Gift of Breath, the Gift of Life," has been inspired and shaped by several of the readings under the section called Praise and Transcendence. In particular, reading 531, written by Ralph Waldo Emerson, about the Oversoul, and reading 532 called The Music of the Spheres, written by Ernesto Cardenal. I want to share some of their thoughts as I begin my message this morning. First, from Emerson about the Oversoul. As there is no screen or ceiling between our heads and the infinite heavens, so there is no bar or wall in the soul, where we, the effect, cease, and God, the cause, begins. Within us is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty, to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one. When it breaks through our intellect, it is genius. When it breathes through our will, it is virtue. When it flows through our affections, it is love. And these words from Ernesto Cardenal: the music of the spheres, a harmonious universe-like harp. Its rhythms are the equal repeated seasons, the beating of the heart, rhythms of moon and tide, one single rhythm in planets, atoms, sea, melody, accord, arpeggios, the harp of the universe, unity behind apparent multiplicity. That is the music. The month of February, which we've just passed through, is always a big and significant month in my life. We all have certain months that stand out to each of us. February is the month of the births of both of my children, my son on February 11th and my daughter on February 16th. And sandwiched in between these dates is both the death of my father, February 12th, and Valentine's Day on February 14th. Then add to that the birth of my first grandson on February 6th. But even before all these significant dates, there was a life-changing experience that happened to me on February 9th, 1971, shortly before I met my dear wife, Marcy, in the March of 1971. To share the significance of this date, I'm going to share from writings in my journal from this February, 51 years after this life-changing event. But first, let me set the scene for you. In the fall of 1970, I was a student at the University of Connecticut when I had to drop out of school due to a severe case of infectious mononucleosis. It turns out that I have a genetic autoimmune disorder that compounded my illness and required a very long recovery time. As I was recuperating and before I was able to return to school, I was offered a job at a UCC camp and conference center called Silver Lake in the Berkshire Mountains of Western Connecticut, arranged by my pastor at that time, who eventually became my mentor in ministry, Reverend Winthrop Nelson. Now I realize that I had been deeply suffering from both a broken body and a broken heart. The illness had shaken my foundation. My self-image was challenged. My friendships in shambles. My studies going nowhere, and my girlfriend gone. I even began to entertain suicidal thoughts. I felt alienated from life and full of pain. Now I'm going to skip ahead over 50 years to my journal entry from Saturday, February 5th, 2022. Today, I awoke early and went to my study to read in the book The Wild Edge of Sorrow by Francis Weller, subtitled Stories of Sorrow and Rituals of Renewal. Chapter 4 begins with this quote from Joanna Macy, a wonderful eco-theologian. She writes, "The heart that breaks open can contain the whole universe." Could it be that my heart was broken at that point in time, on February 9th, 1971, I was feeling unloved and deeply depressed. I couldn't sleep that night, so I went outdoors into the foot of snow that covered the field behind my cabin, drawn out by the full and bright moon. Looking up, I felt so small and so insignificant compared to the vastness of the sky and the vastness of the universe. Then I heard a clear voice. From where it came, I do not know, but it said to me, "Stephen, you are loved." Immediately, I knew it to be true, as my consciousness was flooded by a feeling of healing love. Unmistakable love filled my whole being, and I felt connected to the whole universe and the whole web of life. As my consciousness expanded, I experienced a mystical connection, a union with the Eternal One that Emerson speaks of. In that moment, I knew I was loved and all was right with my place in the world. I felt such total peace and harmony within and all around me. I have lived from that moment onward, trying to understand and live into that reality. End of my journal entry. What I've learned over the course of my lifetime is that life is full of pitfalls, as the writers of the biblical Psalms point out over and over, and obstacles to overcome, and that we must not take the gift of breath and the gift of life for granted. I now realize that the story of my awakening under a full moon in the dead of winter in February 1971 was just a beginning. It was the beginning of my call to marriage, as I met Marcy the very next month. And now we're married over 50 years. It was also the beginning of my call to meditation, as shortly thereafter I was introduced to mantra meditation from the yoga tradition within Hinduism, as a way to stay connected to my spiritual awakening through the use of breathing techniques linked to special words meant to focus the mind on divine qualities to manifest in everyday living. It was also the beginning of my call to ministry in the religious community of my birth, the Congregational Church, UCC. Let's take a few minutes to explore the use of meditation, which I've been teaching throughout my ministry. Often mantras are based upon words that describe God or are qualities of God. The first mention of the name of God found in the Bible is in Exodus chapter 3, verses 13 to 15. Accordingly, it is the name by which God has chosen to be called. In Hebrew, it is spelled with the letters YHWH, as no vowels are used in Hebrew. In the Jewish faith, God is to be drawn near to and remembered by this name throughout all generations. Rabbis and biblical scholars have long noted and taught that the letters YHWH represent breathing sounds. And when used without the use of vowels to make it spelled Yahweh, YAHWEH, it actually sounds something like breathing. If you take and do that over and over and think of those letters, it really does sound a bit like breathing. Try it yourself sometime when alone in a quiet space. Jewish spiritual teachings affirm that a baby's first breath, first cry, speaks the name of God, as does every breath taken throughout one's life. Breath, therefore, is God's great gift to us. Breath gives us the gift of life, while at the same time we speak God's name with every breath. I find myself resonating with this spiritual perspective. For me, being alive and breathing means that I am connected to the Eternal One constantly. The condition of our breathing tells us a lot about ourselves and our situations. In sadness, we breathe heavy sighs. In joy, our lungs fill to bursting. When we're about to do something difficult, we take a deep breath to give us courage. In fear, we hold our breath and have to be told to breathe slowly to help us to calm down. In natural childbirth, women are coached to breathe in certain ways at certain times in order to control the pain and help the birthing process. Over the years, as I've studied and practiced and taught meditation, I began to realize the commonality between religious traditions in how they meditate and reap its rewards. Each uses the in-breath and the out-breath to focus the mind and begin to empty the mind of extraneous thoughts that distract us or disturb our mind or disturb even our well-being. Both Emerson and Thoreau look to Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism to inform their transcendental philosophy. Today, the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who recently died at age 95, has become a very popular meditation teacher, labeling meditation as mindfulness. But it is still grounded in the age-old breath practices of antiquity. One of his most well-known meditation phrases is the silent and internal repetition of the words, breathing in, I relax, breathing out, I smile. Having said all this, I should point out that in Judaism, as in Buddhism, one can call oneself a theist or believer in God, or a non-theist, non-believer, or also an agnostic, one who just isn't sure, and still practice meditation. It can hold significant benefits from all three viewpoints. One of the current realizations that has come to us today from medical science, modern science, is that meditation has major health benefits for all people. Dr. Herbert Benson, MD at Harvard Medical School, back in 1975, published scientific studies in a book titled The Relaxation Response. He showed that it has been scientifically proven that a 6-step meditation technique can quiet your mind and calm your body in times of stress and be an effective treatment for a wide range of stress disorders like anxiety or panic attacks, stress-related blood pressure issues. It also helps to induce sleep in those with an overactive mind and can be used to control chronic pain for many people. I wholeheartedly believe that practicing the presence of the gift of breath in meditation, or the gift of life, or the gift of love, or peace, etc., is that the most important aspect of meditation is to develop a sense of well-being and hope for oneself and the world at large. Meditation guides and strengthens me to work for the better quality of life and for a better world at large. And for me, God is the presence of certain qualities that I focus on in mantra meditation and seek to instill in both my inner life and my outer life. High up on my list are these 6 qualities that I meditate upon daily: love, harmony, beauty, compassion, justice, and peace. I use them as mantras. So it doesn't really matter if you're a theist or an agnostic to meditate on qualities that we or you would like to manifest in life. As Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Qualities such as these 6 and others that we embrace and our highest ideals are qualities that we intuitively seek for in life. And when we don't experience them, we become unhappy or even miserable. We become agitated or angry. We may behave badly or get depressed, or even sometimes have suicidal thoughts like I did at that one point in my life so long ago. Thich Nhat Hanh seems to sum up all this with words from his book titled Being Peace. He says, how do you expect to leave everything behind when you enter a meditation center? The kind of suffering that you carry in your heart, that is society itself. You bring that with you. You bring society with you. You bring all of us with you. When you meditate, it is not just for yourself. You do it for the whole society. You seek solutions to your problems, not only for yourself, but for all of us together. May it be so. Amen.